Hey, it's Chris, Crowdfunding Roundup. That's right, we're doing it. And you boys got a Diet Coke, so you know it's going to be a bumpy ride. Tune in, buckle up. Let's go. Your GameFound brings all boys to the yard, and they're like, it's coming on now, because it's CMON and GameFound and Awakened Realms all rolled into one. GameFound, actually, by far and away, the bigger of the two this week. So, what do we got going on? Well, Castles of Burgundy Special Edition reprint, $1 million. I mean, it's a great freaking fantastic game, right? I have the copy sitting right down here to the right side of the table where I'm sitting at, and it's a great freaking game, right? Castles of Burgundy is an all-time great. This is probably a top 25 game for me all time. And you know what? If I can get a little more support, subscriber-wise, Patreon-wise, coffee-wise, I think I'm going to start doing my top 100 of all time, right? And make that a yearly feature. Just like all the big channels. I'm going to be one of the big boys. Right? I don't know. I want to do it, though. I was thinking about doing that the other week. And, you know, you start putting stuff down and then you forget something. And then, like, how many of those others, like Ripple Cascade... Like, anyway, I need to do it on an Excel spreadsheet. I think that was my problem. I was starting to do it on just like the notepad. Anyway, Castles of Burgundy, focus, Chris. They're like Will Ferrell and Chad Smith on an interview. And so $1 million, right? This is a great, great game. It's just, you know, the 3D miniatures get in the way. The acrylic is awesome. The playmat is freaking fantastic, but it's a little bit unwieldy with the miniatures, and even the acrylic make it unwieldy. So if you wanted to go buy the Aaliyah version, 10th anniversary or whatever it is, for $20 on the secondary market, go do that. Go do that. Save yourself a hell of a lot of money, right? It's not gonna be the make it or break it for you because you have to love it. Now, there are a couple expansions here that you would definitely include and never play without, but there are a couple that you don't really need with a big asterisk there, right? And $95 for this is probably a good deal. It's a good deal for what you're getting. Do you need it though? Absolutely not. You're still going to get the same great, awesome gameplay. And if you buy one thing of any of these things, it's the playmat. Boom. Hexes, tiles are fantastic. Monasteries are cool. The bags are fine. The design tray is okay-ish, right? I mean, again, that's my own bias, right? Because I feel like still many of these custom inserts are designed to be holders, not actually enablers in terms of play faster or set up, tear down as quick as you would like. So let's get rid of this bubble up here. Somehow that popped up still. So yeah, Vineyards expansion to go along with it. I mean, you're getting tons of content, right? The duchies and the expansion content and the team game and the solo. So is this actually, I don't even know. Let's go to the pledges here. Let's just find out, right? Special edition, add-on pledge. So all of the add-ons offered during the original campaign here. Upgraded 3D terrain playmat, the grand pledge, or the individual add-ons for some of this other stuff. So no, that's all included. So I'm just psyching myself out here with that pledge level stuff. But all the big people and more important than me are on this channel and on this page, so you can check it out if you'd like. So yeah, there you go. Everything you need to know from Awakened Realms and everything you need to know from people with better opinions than myself, and you can take it for what it is. But if the 16th best rated game on Boardgamegeek, you don't even have to listen to any of us either. It's really voted on by you guys as a whole. So $95, again, interestingly enough, I was expecting that price to go up with some of these reprints, and we'll see, because it really hasn't on this side of things. And I give Awakened Realms kudos for not increasing it with several of these games that have come back, like this and Tainted Grail. And so I like seeing that. So you'll see more of it, and you see more people getting in on it now that, again, like, it's a known quantity. I think there's a little bit of a question mark the first time around, even though it raised gangbusters. You're still not seeing it cool off in that sense. And short campaign, 2-week campaign. So there you go. Next up, CMON Saturation? Question mark? I don't know. Now, $180,000. God of War is a huge IP. Huge video game IP. Cooperative dungeon crawler for 1 to 2 players. Where is the disconnect? Why does this only have $180,000 after the first day, right? Again, like, $180,000 is freaking fantastic. But you had 23,000 people following this, and you only have 1,800 backing it right now. So why, I guess? And part of the reason is, I'm going to wager, CMON Saturation. We have the pre-order on GameFound right now. We have the pre-order, I think, still on their website for, I think, Cthulhu Dark Providence. Maybe that's closed. I haven't checked recently. Then you just had the Song of Ice and Fire. Then also, if you go over to their page here, they have another Zombicide RPG Plague Bearer starting in May that's going to be pre-ordering as well. So pre-ordering again, right? But is it saturation? Is it the fact that, you know, as I said last week, I just like, oh, you're guaranteed to have a Board Game Co. video and a rule book. I was wrong. There's neither of those on the page at this point at the time of me filming this. So now, probably by the time this airs, you know, I'm sure that will be on the page and all of your questions will be answered. But that's the issue, right? I don't want to see a trailer. They put the trailer out literally the day before launch. As I said last week on the news video, for Shadowborn's upcoming, you know, next in the line of their Oathsworn follow-up, Avalon, the Riven Veil, like, cool trailer and all. But I'm a board game player. I'm not a video game player. I'm not a video player. I am, what are the things that are going to make it freaking awesome on my tabletop? And there is nothing on this page that tells me any bit, one shape whatsoever what it is, right? Gameplay highlights. That's what you get for clicking. Choose a scenario. Enemies have AI systems based on which of these three you're choosing from. And you have cards with action progression skill trees here that you just choose two of and mash them together, and somehow you play off of each other and interact, and you draw cards from the same deck, and there's some aspect of die rolling and synergy, you know, going on with stuff. Father, son, miniatures of them though, miniatures of them. And one's swift and one's strong. And then, but there's a bunch of miniature monsters too, right? 30 miniatures total, 18 behavior cards. Awesome, because they each have their own individual behavior cards. And then you get the generic description of how these monsters are different set in the God of War sort of world, which is awesome. And these look really freaking cool. And then they give you a scale down here. But that's the gameplay overview, everything that's on the freaking page. So are people finally, The Rock has started to vote with their wallet, right? That's the only thing I can look at right now and say yes. They're doing stretch goals. They're doing daily unlocks, really. Every day at noon, they're doing 2. So, right? Okay, I guess. And if you live in an area where you can't get this normally, then you can get maybe the Mortal Pledge, but otherwise you're going to get the Demigod Pledge because the Mortal Pledge doesn't have the stretch goals. And they say that these stretch goals right now are basically going to be $110 because they put like the MSRP at this Demigod at $200. And so they put the MSRP, as you can see here, at $90 for the Mortal. So you save $20 here, but $110 here, right? That's a, you know, you're basically going to give me twice the amount of content in the stretch goal box as the base core game. That's a ton of stuff. And here you go, right? Is this everything? I'm guessing maybe not, but maybe 16 days. Each of these is going to be 2 instead of 1. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe just 1 every day. Maybe I was wrong about that. I thought I read it on the update, though, that it said 2 every day. Let's check, right? I got nothing else going on tonight. I'm not busy filming like 10 of these videos as a whole. So let's see. 2 new stretch goals. Yeah, I was right. Your boy is right. So you get like zombie draugrs here, and then you get skeletons. So archer skeletons. That's today's. How do they work? Are they going to be different enough? No idea. Oh, what's this thing about sapping rage down here? Who knows? We don't even know what rage is because there's no actual content of how this game actually frickin' plays. Basic enemy monster dudes up here, though. You get the spawn and surprise attack and something, other something. I'm sure they'll have out something more before the end of the campaign. Hopefully, cross your fingers. But that's where it's going. So now let's go over here. Mindbug Battlefruits. More than CMON. Look at that. Look at that. Them's the boys over there from these folks of putting out Mindbug again. $219,000. This is just a fantastic game. 1 versus 1 dueler. Surprisingly strategic. Despite the everything is overpowered, so nothing is overpowered mechanic, because all you get is 1 action a turn and you play. So you have 2 little mind bugs that you can just steal your opponent's creature twice per game, just as your reaction. So I did a review on this, talked about it. It's a great freaking game. Sometimes you just want quick to get to the table in the whole package, like the Secret Cabal says there, right? Don't listen to me. Listen to Secret Cabal. Listen to other people that are stronger and smarter than me on this page. And yeah, I mean, this is just kind of cool. Ooh, tag team? What? You didn't tell me about tag team mode. Oh, man. Oh, man. I'm really... Again, this is my first look at this page. I didn't like preview this before. Sometimes I do that for some of these pages. Sometimes I don't. 2 versus 2 combos. Oh, 3 cards in hand and 3 in the deck. Look at that dragon. That's a shark dog NATO dragon. What the deuce? I want like a picture of that hanging up behind me. Okay, this is pretty cool, right? Like over the top, rules are out there. You're going to get stuff. And again, small indie company, promo pack, whatever, right? You get to design it as a whole. So as a crowdfunding campaign, I guess is what they're saying. And that's awesome. I tried the green one. I didn't get a chance for the purple one. Yeah, deluxeified tokens are cool. Makes me think of more like a Radlands and a Radlands Deluxe here. Big box storage solution. Okay, get all your decks. And the nice thing is you just mix, match, combined. Because when everything is overpowered, nothing is overpowered, though. Is it $250 worth of content, though? Probably not, you know. I'd probably argue it's probably a little bit more than I want to play for a game like this. But if it is that good, too, you know, and you play it, $130 is a little bit different. Again, though, you choose your own. You find the one that you like the most. The problem is you just won't know. So pick one. Pick one. Pick one of the newer ones. Get the promo cards. Make it good. So there you go. Everything on the page, everything you need to know. And again, content's out there, right? It's play one, go. Play one, go. Play one, go. My video on the page? No. Okay, that's okay. I don't mind it. I don't care. I still love the game regardless. So they're killing it, actually. $218,000. Again, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you look down here at actually who's pledging what, $125, 780 people are pledging that. And the new content, you have, what is this? Sorry, I clicked that and I shouldn't have. 633 clicking at this one for less than $40. So that's impressive. And you have almost an equal split with the deluxe menu there at $533. Not huge pledge level wise either. So freaking good for them. Good product. Fantastic. Love to see it right there. So there you go. My other very, very interested game here. And again, like people are going to poo-poo this one. One hit heroes. Like I stand by this one. Co-op bosses, you have one hit. Basically, essentially, you get hit once. Anybody on your team get hits once, you lose. You have to restart. And again, it's like sort of an Aeon's End meets Marvel United. I was really impressed by this. They actually showed me the quote on the page beforehand. They emailed me and said, there's a quote on here from me. So boss progression, deck build from promo packs, unlock cards. Essentially, you get like 10 cards after each boss battle to customize any hero's deck that you get to just put 2 in extra. You can't deck winnow necessarily, but it sort of auto self-select deck winnows. And what I mean by that is your cards are going to have either a green or a red icon. So like a red icon in the upper left-hand corner indicates that once you play it once, it's out of your, deck, essentially burned, as they say, for the rest of that boss battle. Green gets put in your discard pile, rinse and repeat, right? So you have items that you block with, you have reactions that you block with, you have the purple and orange cards, your weapons, and your basically actions. And they've done a great job of asymmetry between these characters. It's good. And this is actually a better price than I was expecting for a card-driven boss battler with deck building. Epilogue is the one thing that I didn't get to trial out. I trialed the 2 first scenario systems, essentially. They each had like 4 sets of bosses in them. And the epilogue is basically bigger than any of the other ones. And so that was the other kind of cool thing. I kind of want to wait and see. So let's see. Baby Barbarian Pack, 15 dungeon cards for 5-minute dungeon. Okay, so you're getting some other stuff there with that. Okay. I'd still go with just the regular version. I've never really gotten into the other games. And so wasn't for me. But this one, oh, look, there's me. Woo! So again, check out other people's videos if you want to see more of how it plays. But I mean, it's basically you get a certain number of actions to play from your hand on a single turn. I think it's 3 if I remember correctly. It is 3 actually, now that I think about it. And you just go back and forth. You go, boss goes, you go, boss goes, you go, boss goes, boss asymmetry, boss manipulation. And it takes sort of the Marvel United vibe of having very simple, straightforward actions and the card play and the boss dynamics, which manipulate things with that simple card play to offer you quite the depth of variability, but a very, very light overhead. And the aggro system is very clever. It's an aggro dump. It's asymmetric, management of that, because then the boss rolls a die and you get hit depending on how much aggro you have if it matches the color of the aggro dice in the first place. There's the epilogue, which is something I would say is a must. And it says season 1 on the box. So if this does well and it's well received at retail, well, you'll probably see more of it. So Wiggles 3D, I was really impressed by that with the 5-minute dungeon stuff as well. It's got sort of the broader availability and depth of gameplay for many different levels of game groups. So I was impressed by it. And if you want to know more, go check it out. Next up, we got Mini Rogues Season 2 coming back with new stuff as well as expandable stuff. And what I mean by that is this is going to be, with this game here, a new standalone expansion compared to the original Mini Rogue in the first place. This is the console edition or expansion. And what you've got going on here is you have both a standalone as well as a combined with the base game to offer 1 to 4 player modes. As we scroll down here, it says 2 players cooperatively or 3 players competitively if you already own the base game, solo with a friend as well. And then an expansion here in the Mountain of Torments, which gives you a couple new elements of delving and torments to make the games harder, new rooms and new artifacts, scrolls, and characters. And so essentially what this game is, it's a lighter card-based dungeon crawl with a skill check. What you've got going on here then is you have this 3x3 grid, a commonality start area as well as an exit area with 7 cards in between for a total of 8 cards that are coming down each time. And then you're having 4 levels or layers of this as you lay your cards down, rinse and repeat, going from room to room, encounter to encounter, slowly resolving them all as you go, delving, consuming rations, and flipping your character depending on classes and skills used in the first place. Heavily skill check based for the room encounters, and then also combat through the use of your character dice, dungeon dice, and poison or curse dice as well. 1 each accordingly. Monsters attacking you back and forth and using your feats asymmetrically in order to win the game. So again, without going into too much detail, you can see combat, poison, items, experience points, leveling up, skills, all of those things. Just a more simple, straightforward dungeon crawl in that sense. And then again, a little expansion here with the Druidess as a new character, Glittering Throne here as the expansion containing all the bosses from the new season as well as a reference cards, and it's shiny. So that's what you get. So characters from the last season as well as the new one. And yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good price actually, $32. So I'm relatively impressed by this one. This is one I'd like to try. Now, would it be as good as some of the other cooperative games? Is it actually a solo game masquerading as sort of shared decision making cooperatively? I don't know. And I'm not really sure how you do this competitively. So I'm sure some of these videos down here below will lay it out very, very succinctly. But I'm impressed by the price. The price is actually really good from that aspect of things. So Meeples? Ooh, that's a fancy Meeple. I like that. Here are your stretch goals, by the way. So a little bit of content as a whole. Ooh, that's nice. A little bit of exclusive stuff, a little bit of everything. So there you go. All the other stuff of what's in it. Play it online right now over on Board Game Arena. Why are you pledging? Yeah, it's roguelike experience. You're upgrading and going along as you would expect in a roguelike game. And then, by the way, did you see the new announcement for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles roguelike game? People are basically calling it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Hades. Anyway, but I digress here. Reviews and playthroughs, English videos, check it out. Seems like a really solid game. I don't know really how the mechanisms hold up. And again, is it best solo version? That's the only thing I'd be thinking of looking through this page as a whole. And as not a main solo gamer, it'd be one I'd be interested in trying out. Someone brings this over, we play, two-handed. And just kind of see how it goes. I'd be really intrigued. So impressed. $83,000. There you go. Mini Rogue Season 2. Kickstarter. Stop doing that. Then back to GameFound. Hispania. This reminds me, again, $16,000 of a $3,000 funding goal. Nice little indie project here. And it's a little bit more complicated in a slightly different way, pandemic, if you will. You can see the grid variable set out here, and you have 1 to 3 player option from a cooperative standpoint. And depending on the number of players, depends on how many generals you control of the 3 different colors. General goes, then the Hispaniards go, and then the general, Hispaniards, end of round. So if you are solo gaming it, you control all 3. Obviously, then you just divide them up in that aspect. The actions that you're taking are basically moving around and quashing revolts as you go along here. And you can kind of see that you're going to be establishing garrisons as well as chains of roads connecting the areas in order to take out the revolts as you go along, besieging them, as it states here, as through a little bit of die rolling and mitigation with the money, I think, or whatever that symbol actually is, spending it in order to beat the shield value of that city in the first place. And so you essentially win when you've subjugated, besieged, and gotten rid of all of the Hispaniard opposition and not having any revolts on your turn. And it's only potentially up to an 11-round game in the first place, so it's not going to overstay its welcome. It runs you through the other actions, the attacking there, as well as the Hispanic phase. So how they're revolting, what happens, the AI movement system, what the revolt actually does on the map in the first place, and what you do at the end of the round here as well. So rules are simple, quick read, overlook some of the details. They give you a little nice summary here at the end. So it seems like a very nice, different style of Pandemic. And so, yeah. And you know what? Truth be told, I love this aesthetic. I love this just, wooden token-based system. I think it does everything it needs to. It doesn't overcomplicate things. And price point's good for just the same reason. Do you need it to get on crowdfunding? I don't know. Are you going to find this at retail? Probably not. So if you want something slightly different with a, unique approach, yeah, give it a look-see. A few unlocks there that are going to go along with it. Variants, boards twice the size of things, add-ons with a playmat from some of the other stuff. And, if you're French, get the rulebook right here. So there you go. Hispania, the Roman conquest. Wasn't expecting it, knew about it, but didn't know what it was going to do. But it's doing well. So take that for what you will. There you go. Now, we'll go over, I talked about this earlier in the week, Table Golf Association, the Meeple Beach Edition, right? It's golf the board game. And, they put out a deluxe version with the wooden components, and it's one of those few games that I'll say, if you want to get it, you go deluxe, because the deluxeified components actually make a significant difference on the gameplay. One of the only ones I've ever played that really, really does. Because the cardboard, if you've played with any sort of cardboard board and you folded it, right, any of those big boards on the table, right, after a couple times you fold it, you can start to maybe see, depending on the quality of the print, those edges just start to just ever so right slightly. And that's what happened with my Catacombs 3rd edition, which is why I ended up getting the playmat edition, because it avoids running into that issue as a whole. And if you have these wooden hexes instead, it avoids the same issue, because these ball bearings that you're scooting across here are just that sensitive and that, I don't want to say finicky. Finicky's not the right word. Just that delicate and that sensitive to those terrains. And so they upgraded here with giving you exactly what you're needing and what you're finding it on, because that was one of the big criticisms of the first game. And they're giving you just more hazards with this one as well. It's golf. And, really what I said in my review too with this one is, especially unless you're going to use like this many tiles, your money might not be worth it, because this really fancies and favors an elaborate setup, which is really where it's going to be best. And that's fantastic. And they give you some pre-made ones that you can just utilize, because again, I feel like people would be overwhelmed and could feel overwhelmed by having to make up their own. But you know what? You could play this one the same time, same way, and have completely different pars and scores for it. Gives you ways to sort of, mitigate your shot with fading and spinning the ball, and asymmetric golfer powers here to mitigate as well a little bit. So yeah, 2 new expansions included. Stadium course. Ooh, look at that. Stadium course with a little surrounding. And that's probably something that it could really use. And that's the other thing I said, right? These tiles can separate out a little bit easier, so you're constantly kind of readjusting them together to keep them close and tight. So having something like that could be very useful. And let's see what else we got. The Frozen Tundra edition. So, right? Get some ice on your golf. That's my brother-in-law right there. So again, this isn't going to blow people out of the water. It's not going to be for everyone whatsoever. Like, if you're not a dexterity fan, this one isn't going to change your mind. $50 though, if that's the wooden price, that's pretty good. 32 of $45,000. So it's slowly climbing. Family Edition Tundra, Stadium Course Expansion 30, Frozen Pro Edition. So maybe that's the Pro Edition is what you want, right? The wooden tiles. Okay. So the Pro Edition here, 75. Okay. So 75, I think that's about what it was in the last one. And this is like the 3rd crowdfunding. No, 4th from John. So give it a look-see if you're interested. And it's worth it, but I definitely recommend the wooden tiles above everything else. So, and wooden clubs. Oh, wooden clubs right there. Oh, interesting. Because you can either push with your finger, flick. Actually, you got to flick. And you can use these little cardboard golf clubs. Although I'm actually better with a golf club, surprisingly, than my finger. Take that whatever you will. So there you go. Tee boxes and a bunch of other stretch goals here. So it's doing well. And I'm guessing it's going to fund here in the next couple days. So give it a look, see if you're interested. Next up from Dead Alive Games, we have Cyber Pet Quest. This is a cooperative pet-based adventure-style explorative game with upgradable pets, if you will. As you take your pets, roll your dice to gather several different types of energy. Use that to do your actions as you're exploring through a map and trying to avoid taking damage from the enemies that are out there in the first place. Here are your animal companions. And then you get to the key feature of this game as you're going along this main board and mitigating all of your energy. As you can see here, you end up with areas that you're having enemies in, and you're trying to utilize the dice to dodge or avoid the enemy's attacks. And then if you take enough damage, well, you kind of have to mice and mystics it in terms of the scenario driven aspect and restart the, well, scenario. So there's a lot going on here. Don't be fooled by this aesthetic. This rulebook is 56 pages long. Sorry, 58 pages long here as a 1 to 4 player investigation, interactive environment, chapter objectives, gain powers, outsmart enemies. So there's a lot going on here. Everything from the game rules, which doesn't actually even start until page 25, to leveling up, to playing the campaign, to leveling up, to leveling up. So this rulebook is a little bit, of the chapters of the campaign as a whole. So it's not actually as long as you might think, but it's still going to be quite lengthy as well, because if you look at it here, actually, it only gives you up to chapter 2 with the 56 pages. Everything from 57 to 97 is going to be all the stuff that I'm guessing isn't included yet. So a lot of stuff there. Action-based economy energy systems that you're going to be utilizing with these unique objective cards depending on what quest you're in, and revealed side as you unlock them and you go. So does this appeal to you as a dungeon crawl person? Is it more aesthetically pleasing? I mean, people always say all the time, I don't like this aesthetic of the dark fantasy, the zombies, whatever it may be, right? So this is giving you something completely different as a whole, right? Enough video content out there. Again, I'm not going to give you much more of a detailed breakdown. 50-page rulebook. I'm going to leave that one on you guys. If you want to spend more money, though, they have some upgrades here with the upper level pledges, including heat transfer printed pet meeples miniatures and a little bit of upgrade tokens to go along with it. So there you go. Get your pet's art into the game if you want to pay $600. You know what? I guarantee those are going to be like sold out probably. Actually, let's see. Nope. 0 backers right now. Oh, that's the foil art pledge. 2, though, here out of 5 for the your art for your pet. Wait, your pet's... Oh, I thought it said AI for a second. Haha, wasn't kidding from earlier in the week, but tons of video content. Wow. I didn't even really, have this one too much on my radar. So apparently a lot of other people did, though, and you can check it out. And Jerry Hawthorne gives it a, endorsement right there. So, and that's the guy that made Stuffed Fables and Mice and Mystics and, Familiar Tales. So this is sort of very similar vibes from that aspect for me personally on the surface. But again, 50-page rulebook, I'm going to leave that one to you this week to tune into and check out. So either way, I mean, 200% of its funding goal at the time of me filming this with stiff competition right now. So congrats. Then we'll go over here. I'm just going to mention it. 2025 board game Mosaic calendar. It's a cool aesthetic. Without getting too personal or too into the history of me and Facebook groups and getting banned, I won't mention anything else either way. But if you like this sort of thing, go check it out. Then we have Castle Up, $5,000. Sort of like a Wise Wizard Games deck building-esque. So what you're doing is you're building castle out of cards, and you have a market that you're going to be basically having an action economy purchase system from, and you're going to be utilizing the actions that are present on these buildings as you upgrade them through 3 separate rounds, slowly depleting decks until the end of the game is triggered when you run out of cards. And you're going to be having unique asymmetric action cards you can draft or buy each round of holding one of them. Direct combat, high player interaction as you try to take out, exhaust, or damage other people's buildings with a set of unique military, economy, and defensive wonder cards all rolled into one situation there. So clever use of card play is essentially an engine builder with different resources that you're going to be utilizing. The combat, again, as I mentioned, defensive structures to mitigate, basically measuring your city's resilience and going along with these card synergies that I mentioned. So initiative, trade row that I mentioned, a certain number of cards, like 4 of them out in each area each time. And, well, the most points, depending on how well you do at the end, is going to win you the game. So definitely a lighter style card-driven game, but kind of got a unique thematic incorporation here. Kickstarter edition is only going to cost you 22 euros. So cheaper than I was expecting as a whole. Interested in this? Does this appeal to you more so than the high fantasy? Speaking of things from that aspect, there's enough preview content. I believe you can play it online as well too right now. So maybe if you're lucky, you can have it by the end of the year. And you know what? They're killing it right now, because as a first-time game creator here, 5,500 of your 4,200 goal, which 42 days, right? 42 days. I know that a long time ago, like a couple years ago on crowdfunding, a long time ago. I know what I said. I'm leaving it in there for posterity's sake. That long crowdfunding campaigns were thought to be better, but anything over like 2.5 weeks nowadays, I think it also gets lost in the shuffle with how much launches and gears up and gears down. So that's, if I was going to do one, I don't think I'd do it for more than 2 weeks, but that's just me. Again, mentioning it because it is board game definitely adjacent and sort of also matching the criteria this week. Family Adventure and Exploring Feelings, $20,000, right? $20,000. It's basically a board game to help kids put out their emotions. And it's got magnetic little box there as well, so you can kind of deluxify it even if you want to impress your kids, right? It's for everybody, they say. Kids, parents, experts, to help discuss these sort of issues. 6 amazing emoticon worlds that you can explore here, and rolling and picking up diamonds and treasure chests and drawing cards to help kids express their feelings and opinions of the hey cards, essentially. So, I've got kids, I'm a parent, and yeah, mental health is a big issue. And so that's why I'm mentioning it. Now, is this how I'm going to necessarily do it, even as a big board gaming family that we are? Probably not. At the same time, I feel like this is slightly strange, right? Like what the experts are saying. But if this is a person who is an advisor to you, I would imagine advisor, in at least my side of things, advisor means you're getting paid. And so I would hope that if this person or this person was getting paid, that they would have positive things to say about it. And if not, and they're just advising on it and they're paying positive things, that's good too. But there you go, right? Motion, master emotion. Draw your hey card, roll a booster, and again, read another card. At the same time, my kids don't really want to read cards like this. And so I think it's one of those things that really sounds good, ideally, but I don't think my kids would actually be interested in this whatsoever. And that's maybe just my kids as a whole. My kids are my kids, right? Like what you see, what you get right here, right? And expect that as apple didn't far too far from the tree. So either way, though, I give them kudos for doing it. I give them kudos for getting this much money and putting out what it looks like a very quality product. Whether or not it's for you or whether or not that's appealing to you, I'll leave that one up to you, though. And you can check it out. $21,000, though. So impressive. Next up, Attack of the SNACs. So you want a very differently themed roll engine build, slight worker placement adjacent tableau building situation. Well, that's kind of what you got here with a 2-phase system, 45 to 90 minutes that you're utilizing here. So wilderness phase, you're drawing your cards, rolling any of your unique action driven dice in order to be able to do your combos, and then taking the town phase to upgrade your characters, rest, and prepare for the next monster fight. So you have unique locations, unique encounters, and then scoring at the final in-game product. $35 for the standard edition here. And then what do we got here for the higher edition? Let's check, actually. I was curious what the higher edition was. Ooh, $65. So they deliciously, as they say there, make it deluxe. So exclusive goodies, although it looks like maybe you're getting some non-gameplay content, because if you check over on the side here, merchant add-ons, I wonder if that's included. So they talk to you a little bit about what the select your character situation is in terms of utilizing your basic statistics, upgrading your abilities, or differentiating your characters and how you want them to be, depending on what abilities you decide to emphasize. And the die rolling mechanic is really where the differing aspect is, right? You roll your dice and you do a little bit of the press your luck, re-rolling as many times as you want, but you have to add a white die every time you do that, which is going to be the damage and towards you. And so abilities, using them to defeat the monsters, and then utilizing the Hunt Master's Camp over here as the worker placement, the second phase of things to upgrade your stats, rest, get more dice, again, upgrade, sort of your roguelike in between, if you will. So what are you getting here deluxified? Hardcover art book, foils, art, so non-gameplay stuff. Okay, so if you're not interested in the non-gameplay stuff, you hope that you can get it at retail, or that if it doesn't go to retail, you get the lower pledge level. So seems like an interesting game. I wonder, 45 to 90 minutes for this light of a game seems longer than I was expecting. So there must be a little bit more to it from that. So I would imagine watching one of these videos is going to be really showing you where the gist of the game is when you're defeating these monsters and building these combos. So that would be probably my recommendation at this point, because as I'm scrolling through here, I also didn't see a rulebook, which I can't imagine it's a bigger rulebook as some of these others that we've seen already this week. But just with some of the nuance, the combos, and the action-driven system here, I'd hope to see a little bit more. So you're going to have to check out the videos to get a better look-see. But it's almost 50% of the funding goal right now, so we'll see how well it does in the next coming weeks. Attack of the SNACs. Next up, Cloud Fox is 10% funded. Talking about it, I actually had my eye on it from Boardgamegeek for quite a while, just like Cloud Foxes, right? It's an area control tile laying game, sort of gives me vibes of Sea Dragons with a little bit more nuance in how you're placing the foxes themselves, because essentially what you're doing is you're rolling 3 dice in sort of a Rumble Nation-esque, if you're familiar with that at all, or the roll and write vibe as a whole. We'll talk about another roll and write here in a second. And what you're doing is you're picking a row and a column based off of 2 of the numbers on the dice, but then you're also picking the value of the fox that you're laying, the strength of the fox, based on the 3rd number. And there's going to be islands that you're going to be slowly trying to control and place them around in order to get victory points in an area control style manner at the end. But you can also do damage to other creatures or foxes out there, as well as get merchant ships or place them on merchant ships in order to basically have better values and loot as you go along. These tokens are going to allow you to essentially mitigate on the dice rolling and give you other various abilities that you can, well, use along the way. So that's the gist of the game. You can even fortify to basically make a fox more withstanding of damage, as said mentioned, and give them essentially additional control over the islands. Pretty much everything you need to know right now. The rulebook is not yet there. They say it'll be out later, and there's going to be a solo alliance mode as well. Alliance mode giving you an AI system that seems kind of cool and is sort of where you're going up against the Navy, as it says, and it's going to pre-program things like doing damage to certain rows or columns, or healing certain columns, or, you know, doing its own things with its own ships. So I think this is relatively appealing, and it's really kind of intriguing. And it's a little expensive for what it is, though, at the same time. I mean, $50. So it's an indie publisher. You won't get it anywhere else. It's, you know, not going to get made if it doesn't get funded on here, but maybe me giving a shout out, tell them Legion sent you if you're interested, but getting on some other larger publishers' radar too, you know, it's not a bad thing. But we'll see where it goes. Good luck to them. Cloud Foxes, we'll see if it funds. So next up, we're talking about Crisis in Korea. War game. 2 mini war games you've got going on here. $2,400 funded already, 68 backers. The first one here is the KTO Crisis, where you're basically trying to do area control through 3 rounds and then see what you can do, because in this one, you can move any of your armies like once, essentially, and you get a certain number of rounds to do that, like I mentioned. And then the second one here is Loose Nukes, where again, you have a very limited round situation, but you have more variability in the actions that you can take. And so it runs you through very quick how to play here with the rules. Again, with the Crisis, you can move as many armies as you want. They can only move 1 space, simple D6 combat, and then also special one-time abilities in order to outmaneuver your opponents. And then Loose Nukes here, series of rounds, alternating turns, as basically what they say in this simulation game. The Korean providence has collapsed. The People's Republic of North Korea has collapsed. And so you've got the People's Republic of China, as well as the United States, South Korea alliance going after trying to control the most of these nuclear stages. And they run you through the 5 different actions you can take there. You take 3 actions per time, and then advancing to the next round, I think you go until you control all of the sites, or as it says, mutual destruction occurs. Yeah. Not really stretch goals. It's a small indie game, and you see what you get. So, Catastrophe Games, 8 created, funded well. Check it out. Speaking of those roll and writes that I mentioned, Dice of Steam. So, Age of Steam, only with sort of a dice-based mechanistic approach. So, you've got this little circular path, circular board, we'll say, 1 through 6, and you're rolling these 2 dice, and these 2 dice are going to be available for the 2 main actions that you're going to be taking. And we'll scroll down here and you can kind of see it here. You have the development as well as the investment. The development means that you're developing either one of these 2 companies, the red or the blue, and the investment means, you know, with whatever die roll there, whatever 2 companies are adjacent there, where you can purchase, trade, whatever you would like of these 2 companies. And so you're trying to buy more shares, get more investments, make more money by multiplying them at the end, while still developing your other tracks as you go along, score points, as well as make each company more valuable. game goes until 3 companies' tracks are filled up. If you play solo, it's sort of try and get as many tracks as high as you can, because you're judged based off of how valuable all of them are, especially the low ones, rather than just having like the highest 3, for example. Here are the price points: €8, €12. You can get some of their other previous stuff as well, if you like that sort of thing as well, with additional maps that are being offered now that they're going to hit a couple stretch goals. So Age of Steam only has a roll and write. You interested? I mean, again, right, for that price point, raising over $1,000, killing it. So then Spellstorm, 2-player head-to-head dueler, 40% funded at the time of me filming this. You're talking about a head-to-head sort of dueling-esque market-based deck builder. And what you've got going on here is you've got simultaneous paper, scissors, rock reveal between water, fire, and rock. And then you do that essentially, I believe, 4 times, drawing back up a card each time, because each of these cards are going to have potentially, we'll say, effects on your deck itself. Here they say fire deals damage now. You maybe get the quality of your deck affected later, teching up with the earth cards, but affecting your health, and then water drawing, but you may not get as many cards later. So the battling part, like I mentioned, you do that 4 times, and then you gather based on those cards that are going to be acquired on the second phase of things. Go back and forth. You're also going to have the additional win game objective of gathering shards, which are victory point conditions, or knocking out your opponent there in a combo-based system here. Again, a 20-page rulebook that you can check out over here. You have asymmetric mages that you're going to be using to basically choose your game or choose your asymmetry with at the beginning. And they say they all have strengths here, ultimate abilities, but you're not limited, say, like with the fire mage here of going fire. The example they give you on the page is actually the water mage could easily win as fire too, but it's going to behoove you maybe to stick with it a little bit better. They run you through all the symbology that you're going to need to see here, powering up, drawing, everything else that you're going to know, ultimate abilities that can be costing the mana that you're slowly gathering, and then game ending, like I said, when somebody either loses all their life or hits that magic 8 shard mark. This is the latest series in their games, all taking place in this world, and a few of them are otherwise very similar. Gem Wizard Tactics and Dragon Bridge, and I guess this developer, designer, publisher also does some video games. So if you want to see what they make video games of, Gem Wizard Tactics is available there too. A couple big previews from the biggest channels out there, and you can check those out if you'd like. So what are you getting here price-wise? $40. Ooh, hot off the presses. I mean, again, a little expensive, more expensive than I would have thought, but it's a indie game. So you're going to pay the price, and if you like the sort of vibe it's got going on with the combos there, check it out. Next up, Redline Payday. This is another expansion for the original Redline game. This is the Payday expansion, offering you corporations and mercenaries as the 2 new factions. It does require a base game to play, and so it's just an expansion only for 2 to 3 players going simultaneously head-to-head combat, wargame style, with either pre-constructed or construct your own decks with asymmetric factions of your choosing. And so essentially what you do is you have these mission cards that you're going to be dealing out from a 20-card deck initially that creates a red line as you flip them over, going between each other. Sort of like a battle line if you're familiar with the Knizia game. And then what you've got going on is you're going to be slowly capturing them or putting capture counters on them in order to control them. And if you control all 5, well, that triggers the end of the game. Or if you raise enough of the opponent's cards and they run out of cards from their arsenal, which is a 60-card deck that you're making in the first place, or it comes pre-constructed, as I mentioned, then you also win. How you do that is you deploy your assets. Basically, you're paying your resources based on your resource production with whatever gains or capture markers that are allotted to you in the first place, placing as many cards or allocating as many resources as you want, and then, tapping, untapping them at the next round they can be reused for. But if any extra resources are allocated, then they are not carried over. You're setting your maneuvers, you're simultaneously attacking back and forth to knock out your enemy mechs, essentially, and you can even repair them as part of the main mechanic in this game. As you control these areas, you can put more capture counters. The rulebook actually is linked from the previous campaign page over to their website here, and you can see that it's pretty extensively laid out as you're rolling dice as part of the combat. In addition, going back and forth based on speed and initiative as a whole. They lay out what the capture counter cards are, as well as all the card states you can see here to give it really kind of a mech card war game based feeling as a whole. So it's not, unfortunately, a lot of this stuff on the page itself. So if you click over to one of the other campaign pages right here, I went to the Redline Siege expansion page. It had a nice link there as well. So I kind of wish they just had a little bit more ported over here. They've got a couple videos if you prefer that aspect of things. And there's a little bit of exclusive content, but most of it's deluxifications as a whole. So you're not missing out a ton from that side of things, as you can see here. Stickers, alt art, and a playmat. So a little expansion, bundle. Stretch goals here, again, a little bit of extra stuff and a few videos as well talking about it in more detail. They delivered the other 2 within 6 months. They say right down here it's ready to go and print, so you should get it hopefully in 6 months as well with this one. So there you go. I mean, again, must have some solid backing. 3rd time around, and it's got 12 grand, so check it out. Last of this week, Sacramancer. Sort of gives me a Stratego meets dark fantasy vibes, because essentially what you're doing is you're moving your monster pawn tokens across the board here, 1 to 5 players, trying to capture the opponent's citadels as you're going across with a D12 based combat rolling that can be mitigated with monster spells or spells in general and abilities to go along with that. And essentially what you're doing is you're slowly moving them across the board, attack the citadel, and then as you attack or defend, the higher die roll wins. But like I mentioned, the monster abilities, the spells that are going to be at your disposal as well are going to give you ways to mitigate that or affect those rolls in the first place, either being cast at the beginning of combat as it states, or at the very beginning of your turn to mitigate. The rulebook over here has a little bit more of what these citadels look like and how they are arranged on the board as a whole. So you just have to capture all of them. You're gonna be using your monster deck as well as your spell deck, and they give you a little bit of a breakdown here. Again, better so on the rule book than the page itself, to give you a little bit of idea of what your attacking is going to be looking like, your bonuses or your abilities as a whole. So again, you're going through here, spell cards get played, you're placing tokens that are potentially going to be available to you, repositioning 1 monster 3 times or multiple monsters up to 3 times total, or any other permutation there. Again, cannot land on or move through the citadel site, so you're landing around it and then trying to battle or control for combat and battling for control as a combat situation here. Attacking, 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 defending. And so they give you a little bit of initiative of how these are going to be done, how it can be mitigated with strike or parry bonuses, attack and defenders rolls back and forth, discarding down and replenishing your hand, and when you own all citadel sites in play. I could see that being a little bit of a harder win condition as a whole. So you can do a shadow player in addition here, which I believe is a solo mode, but eliminated players as well. Man, this would be tricky to play with a lot of people all on one board there. That would be a lot of chaos on a small map like this if you had more than like 2 factions going on. But I could see it also potentially dragging a little bit with 2 factions if you really yinged and yanged back and forth a few times. A few videos here, a few rewards that you can check out as well. $40 for the game. Get a few PDFs for $60 and make some D&D to go along with it if you want to pay some extra. So overall, it's got what, a couple $1,000s right now, almost 3 grand of its 5,600, so over 50%. There you go, Sacramancer. Check it out. So that's it. That's the roundup this week. Boom! Shakalaka, lots of games. And again, getting near the tail end of April we are. If you'd missed it in the video, I actually did the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Go check that out. Or here, I'll throw the clip at the end maybe, just so you can hear it once again, like I did with the Best of March video yesterday. Putting some of those outtakes, or not, and they weren't even outtakes, right? They were just like funny things I did during the video. I threw one at the beginning and 2 at the end. So just thought it was amusing from my standpoint, right? As someone who edits this and watches yourself on camera all the day. So I got nothing else. What do we got launching next week though? Well, I know Manifest Destiny Cores of Discovery from Off the Page Games is one of the biggest ones going up, but then head to head against that, probably, well, I don't even know why I said that, probably not arguably, but arguably, it's not arguably, I don't know why I'm talking anymore at this point, Earth Abundance. So I'll have videos on both those games as well. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, not sure what it's going to look like right now. So I've got to finish editing one and filming the other. The other big one launching is going to be an expansion for Black Sonata, if you remember that game as well. Fire Siege, which I covered last year, is getting a relaunch because they didn't fund. And then Project L Square One. I never heard follow-up from Boardgamegeek about that. They were going to try and send me something. So, man, that makes me a little sad. That one totally just kind of flew under the radar for me. And then Yonder is launching too. Sinister Fish at the end of the week. So, man, Sinister Fish. I'm intrigued by that one. That was one of my topper ones of the month as well. All 3 of these were on my list. So this is actually a much bigger week than I thought before I checked my notes. Woo! I only remember 2 of them off the top of my head, but I'm intrigued by a Yonder fantasy worker placement as well. So Earth Abundance, will it change my mind? Will it enthrall me? Tune in, find out, subscribe if you'd like. I'm not big, but I talk about stuff that's fun or stuff that amuses me. That's why I did this channel in the first place. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the views. Let me know. You backing anything? You holding out for anything? You late pledging for anything? I just got my late pledge of Skyrise, I think, today. I haven't actually opened the box. I think that's what it is, but I think that's what it is. We'll see if it holds up to my expectations. It's one of the only games I've ever late backed. So there you go. Have a great freaking day. Have some fun this weekend. Play stuff you enjoy. Peace out. Apple didn't far too far from the tree. So